That now and we'll get started this morning. Good morning, my name is Keith Haskell and I am the state coordinator with the National Action Task Force and lead investigator for the N.A.T.F here in Minnesota. And next to me, I will allow her to introduce herself, but this is Lisa Hanson.
Lisa Hanson, are we spelling our names for the sake of the media? Yeah, Lisahanson. My legal is Melissa, capital M, lowercase e, Lissa, and same last name.
Keith Haskell, capital K, lowercase EITH. Last name is Haskell, capital H, lowercase ASKELL. This morning we wanted to approach the citizens of Minnesota and not only update them on Lisa's court case that has a pretrial hearing today at 3:30 in Albert Lea, to update them, but also to point out why the case is so important to every Minnesotan, whether you are a business owner, a patron, a small independent farmer, or what have you. We wanted to point out some of the irregularities, which is a polite word. It's one that I really don't want to use today. Irregularities in our court system here and in this case and by judicial officers. And I am going to start with just turning this over to Lisa and having her give you just a few minute background on the case and what she is facing today as far as the 8 charges.
So I've been allegedly charged with 1 count of public nuisance and then 8 counts of violating the governor's orders per Minnesota statute 12.45, which is unless a different penalty or punishment is specifically prescribed, a person who willfully violates a provision of this chapter or rule or order having the force and effect of law issued under authority of this chapter is guilty of a misdemeanor, punishable by fine, etc., etc. So these are the charges that have come against me, and we are going to battle against a rogue government that actually has no authority in Chapter 12. Chapter 12 is enacted law, but it is not based on it is not based on the enabling act, which would be the Constitution, which would be the founding document that supports. It does not support that. When you have these rules, laws, mandates, and this is the issue. These are the issues that we're dealing with. We're dealing with jurisdictional issues. We're dealing with absence of oaths, governor's authority. We have issues with governor's authority, charges under the statute 12.45, which are illegal, inapplicable, and void for vagueness. So we have a host of issues that we are presenting to the judge today. All of these, or most of these issues, have previously and for quite some time been on the record, but our judicial officers have chosen to ignore, not address, and steamroll all of these high-level issues. Again, these are jurisdictional issues, constitutional issues, statutory issues that are on the record. And today we're going before the judge to hammer these issues out. The judge is required, according to Rule 12.01 and 12.03. I want to make sure, 12.02 and 12.03. The judge is required to make judicial determination from the facts on the record according to Rule 12.02. So we're going before the judge today to bring up these issues. The judge will have to address these issues, and he will have to rule on these issues.
Thank you. I have a small prepared statement that I just hope you pay attention to, because Minnesota is being duped. We are truthfully being duped. We have a governor who, it's now come out, has sent out secret emails from a secret non-governmental account, not from his main email account, directing the Department of Health, including Commissioner Jan Malcolm, to lie, to fabricate, to exaggerate this COVID narrative that he started, and numbers, falsified numbers, to support the fact that he was closing down essential businesses. Now, he's done a couple of these press releases where he called them non-essential. Apparently, he's never had to raise a family or put food on a table or a roof over anyone's health. Because if you have children, you are essential. And so is your employment. The fact that these emails have come out and most of our elected officials are silent on them is extremely disturbing to most of Minnesota, not just those in Rocks and Cows land. This has been a ruse from the get-go, and now it's coming out. We have an injustice system, at least right here locally, in a system that I've been a part of believing that it was a justice system. We have violations of constitutional rights in a courtroom and a judge who won't even hear it or entertain the thought or allow someone to finish a sentence when they're trying to explain it. We have violations of state statutes. Our laws that our legislator wrote down on books and said, this has been debated, this has been researched, this is what we want and need to protect our citizens, not protect our government, to protect our men and our women of Minnesota. We have ethics and courtroom violations. Again, some of these are standards that the courtroom set to protect who? Not to protect the court, to protect the individual. Minnesota needs to decide today, what is our threshold? What's right and wrong? How many different violations or different things can go wrong in a courtroom, and we're going to sit by idly with our hands under our rear end and not do anything about it. Lisa has submitted over 8 key major elements in her case in writing. It's a matter of public record. It's stamped by the court. We have copies for the media. You can go online and look at it. 8 major elements with over 52 points to it of these violations. But we have a judge who not only doesn't rule on most of it, acts like he doesn't even hear it. Or we'll talk about that later. Or let's just get through with today's proceeding and we'll bring that up later on. No, you can't have a proceeding if you have this many violations. That is not justice, that's injustice. You have to rule on the causes at hand and the things that are out here in front of the case before you can hear the case. That's just common courtroom procedure. Additionally, also very disturbing to me anyway, is that we have a city attorney who's under contract. She is not a city employee, but she is prosecuting all of this. She has not sworn an oath to defend the United States or state constitution as a city attorney, as a prosecuting attorney. So you tell me if she's obligated to protect the oath, because she certainly hasn't sworn it. And that, to me, is a major, major issue in this case, and so is some of her behavior, knowing that she's free from that. So, again, we all hear it in the media. We have this catch and release program here that the DNR started to increase our walleye and northern population. But what we do is we catch and release hardened, repeat, criminal, convicted felons for $500 to $1,000 if any bail at all, and we take a businesswoman, a church-going mother of many and grandmother to even more, and we want to send her to jail for being a public nuisance because she smelled the rat before a lot of us in all this COVID narrative. And she defied a mandate, not a law. Make no mistake, she didn't violate the law. She defied a mandate that had no grounding, no foundation. And yet, we're going to spend what? I don't know how much money the city's spending on this, or the county. I know that collectively there's over 2,000 man-hours of investigative and law time. Over 2,000 man-hours putting this together to defend a citizen, to defend a person, a woman, a business person here in this town who now fights for causes far above and beyond the interchange. I'm going to pause and I'm going to let Lisa speak some more about today, but I really do want you to understand that today is a case founded on the interchange and Lisa's defiance of a governor mandate. But today is about much, much more. Because now she's become educated. She's She's got knowledge, which is wisdom. And now she understands other levels of corruptness and other things that are going on locally, whether it's school boards or city councils, and other things that are going on with elected servants who are not listening to the people. And that's really why she's in such a battle. Lisa, just how far prepared are you if today isn't victorious? If things are not dropped today, which is obviously our hope, where do you go from here?
Well, we have a jury trial that is scheduled for December 6th. We should never go to that jury trial because there is so much fraud and so many issues, constitutional and statutory issues on the record, that jury trial should not even happen. These cases should be absolutely dismissed. However, we understand that that may not happen. And so December 6th, we are scheduled to go to jury trial. If, for whatever reason, if we do not succeed at the district level here, we are prepared to go to the appellate level. We will appeal any decision that abrogates my constitutional rights, your constitutional rights. If we need to, we will go to the Supreme Court of the U.S. Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court. We are prepared to go all the way if need be. Because this is not just about Lisa Hanson's rights and liberties and freedoms. This is about everyone in the state of Minnesota, every individual, every man and every woman, and yes, even every boy and every girl, future generations. This has always been about not my restaurant and my little life. This has been about what is right, what is moral, what is ethical. This is still America. There are still truths that we stand on, documents that we stand on. The Constitution for the United States of America, 1791. The Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. These are documents that we continue to stand on and hold dear. This has always been for our children and our grandchildren, our future generations. This is why we fight. Because our future generations are important. We have a governor that has gone rogue. This governor has no authority to have inflicted the mandate, stating it as an enacted law, which it absolutely is not an enacted law, on the people. When you start digging into the law, you find that there's a whole lot of discrepancy and a whole lot of fraud going on. Now, the governor does have authority according to Chapter 12, Emergency Management, but that authority does not apply to the people or the private sector businesses. That authority applies to the Emergency Management Department or team. That does not apply to us. That applies to the executive branch. Executive orders apply to the executive branch. If you look at Chapter 12, you will find nothing in that chapter that gives the governor authority to direct the will of the people. He has no authority over the people. Why do we have three branches of government? We have the executive branch, the judicial branch, and then we have the legislation. I'm sorry, the legislative. See, I'm still learning. This is all very new to me. So we have three branches, and there's a reason we have three branches, and the law tells us that those branches cannot intermingle. They cannot overstep one another. That's for our protection as the people. So legislators are the ones that make the laws. The governor has no authority to make law, and the legislation does not have authority to allow the governor or to give the governor authority to make laws. It's not possible. It's constitutionally not possible. And this is where we are at. We have a government that has gone rogue, and instead of the people being here above the government, they've done a switch over the last how many decades, and we're just now. Our parents and grandparents should have been doing something about this a long time ago, because this is not new. This has been happening for decades. It's time that we stand up as Americans, as people, as men and women living on the soil, whatever state you're in. It's time for us to stand up and declare that The government actually works for us. The government is to be kept in check by the people. And it's beautifully laid out in real law. So this is what we are, this is our agenda. This is our agenda, to bring back real law, to bring back the rights of the people, not only for now, but for future generations.
Lisa, talk to us for a little bit, and I'm probably going to surprise you, but I'm not throwing you under the bus. Talk to us a little bit about the Interchange as a business, as a wine and coffee bistro, and where we're at and what the future of that looks like, because I believe we're already past that point, but I do want the people to know. And the reason I ask that question for the people viewing today is that I want them to understand that this really isn't about the interchange and how that has affected us.
So our hopes were to always be able to reopen. We are currently closed. We have been closed as a company since February 9th. And our hope was to reopen. Our food and beverage handling license has been stolen from us by the state under, again, illegal premise, unlawful mandates. So obviously this fight, the business has suffered greatly. We have been still paying, we're here in the city's building. We've been paying rent all along. We've been paying our utilities all along, and yet cannot be open for business. It's time to make a decision, but the decision actually that we had to make was City helped us make that decision. City has actually, not only is the prosecuting attorney, who has no sworn oath on office, mind you, and is required to by statute, Minnesota state statute. Not only is she prosecuting me on these charges, but now the city and the attorney have decided that they will not renew my lease, which does expire at the end of this year. And so we will be moving out of the building by the end of the year. I've not been given any kind of a reason why they are terminating the renewal of the lease, or why they're not renewing the lease. So we will be out by the end of the year. The Interchange was a beautiful little restaurant for 7.5 years. We service the downtown area as well as surrounding area, far and wide, near and far. We pull people off the interstate, Interstate 35 and Interstate 90. Is it okay if I just talk a little bit about this? We served breakfast and lunch, and we were open a couple of nights a week. Every Friday night, we offered live music for anybody that wanted to come in and enjoy a glass of wine, some beer, flatbread, whatever, and listen to some really great local and also non-local bands and musicians come in and play every Friday night for about 4 years. We offered all kinds of events here at the Interchange. We offered had baby showers, wedding showers, fashion shows. How about our trivia night? We had art shows. We had tastings, wine and beer tastings, and we had all kinds of just wonderful things. We offered quite a lot to the community, and just because of what people have told us over the years, the Interchange was a well-loved little place. It was an asset to the community, and it's very unfortunate that our city leaders have chosen to destroy this business and have taken something very special and very valuable away from the community. And for no lawful reason. Everything, again, is done under guise of enacted law. All under fraud, all based on fraud.
So Lisa, in your 7 years of running the Interchange, you and your family, you never had health code violations or police calls that were rampant or excessive, or big parties where there were fights, or any of that with the 911 system or
never had
jurisdiction in 7 years?
Never had any of that. No.
Okay.
It was a great place to come. And so we, again, like I said, we had always hoped to reopen, and at this point, it seems that our path has taken a turn, and it doesn't look like we will be reopening the interchange. My husband just reminded me of something. This truly was a labor of love for us, for our family, and also for non-family members as well that worked here and enjoyed, and so many great memories here. It was a labor of love. In all the years that we ran the company, in all the years of its existence as the interchange, I never once took a paycheck. I never took a paycheck. If there was any profit, all went back into the company. This was really just something we wanted to do for the community. We love hospitality. We love to show people a good time, offer a good bottle of wine and great flatbread and et cetera, et cetera. So it is very sad to see this company, this business, this little restaurant, this bistro, destroyed by the hands of the city leaders of Albert Lea. So our path now has taken a little bit of a different turn, Keith, and it looks like we won't be opening the interchange. And how would I ever have time to do that again? Because my mission, my passion now has become yours, mine, our children and our grandchildren's liberties and freedoms. I have so much more to learn, and I'm ready to learn, and I'm ready to continue to work. Not only are we working on a state level, Keith, but what has this led us into? This has led us into a local level, and what I mean by that is we became aware of corruption that was going on at a local level. We became aware of corruption in our city administration, as well as our city council. We have become aware of corruption and tyranny in our school board. And we have formed a group. We have formed a support, a team of people that care about our liberties and freedoms just as I do. And I may have been the one that, had the audacity to stand up against a rogue governor.
Yes, you have the privilege.
But boy, there's a whole lot of people that say enough is enough. And let's get back to real law. Let's get back to constitutional law, common law. Let's get back to the common law that we as men and women have a right to. So Keith, paths have changed. We're going in a new direction now. The interchange likely will not be reopening anytime soon anyway. And it looks like we're going to be fighting hard and strong, continuing to fight for these liberties and freedoms.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to also mention one of Lisa's recent filings in the court, and again, this is all public record. Anybody can go to the court system and look at it. Affidavit of misconduct of a public office. Now, compared with being a public nuisance for, opening a little wine and coffee bistro, compared to misconduct of a public office, to me, seems like it should be a really big deal as well. And one of the filings that Lisa has just recently made is that affidavit. It is 7 pages long against Kelly Don Martinez, the contracted city attorney for the city of Albert Lea, Minnesota. And I do want to say that name just because I don't want everybody in her office to suffer the wrath. I'm not saying that all city attorneys are bad or assistant city attorneys are bad, but I do want other cities throughout the United States to know that name and to watch for it when it comes around, because she's probably going to be job hunting before too much longer when you have this much misconduct and it's documented. I'm not in trouble for saying anything that can't be proven because it is here. It is a sworn affidavit. Sworn, by the way. Did you have to raise your hand and do an oath? Oh yeah, the oath. Sorry, we don't have to do that here apparently. So the interchange is closing. We're not going to reopen, I should say, because it's been closed for almost the better part of a year. And it has birthed, if you will, this whole new movement. And now I'm going to throw you for a little bit of a loop just because it keeps going around. Is there consideration of you running for public office?
Do I have to answer that?
No, you have some constitutional rights. You don't.
Exactly. There is consideration, and to be honest with you, Keith, at least in the beginning, the only reason for the consideration is because I've been approached by several people to run for office. This is, again, not something I ever saw myself doing or even wanted to do. But what's more important? It's time that we set our selfish desires aside and looked at the real picture. Where are we at in America, the United States of America? Where are we at in our own states, and where are we at in our cities and our counties? And so to answer your question, there is a consideration, but that's all I'll say. I want to point something out too. This is a very, very high-level point, and I want to be very careful of how I say this. Of course, this is not in our documents, but this is a truth. When we're looking at law, opinion, your opinion versus my opinion, doesn't really come into play when law is law is law. And I understand there's people that are angry with me and want me to suffer because I opened when the governor told us to shut down because of a virus that we were all told to fear. And I'm not going to go into my own opinion on the virus. I'm not going to talk about masks. I'm not going to talk about the so-called vaccination. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I have a right to have my opinion just as people have a right to have their opinion. If you want to mask up, mask up. If you want to get the shot, get the shot. If you want to close your business and follow all the restrictions of the governor, you have the right to do that. And in that same token, I have the right. And you have the right. And each one of us, we have the constitutional right and really the common law right to make these choices for ourselves. So because you don't like what I've done and what other people like me have done, doesn't change the law. Now I'm going to say that one more time. Because you don't agree or you don't like what somebody does, you have a different opinion, doesn't change the law. The law protects choice. And what I'm going to ask everybody to look at and open your mind to is let's look at the real law here. We have lost the art of law. We have lost the meaning of law and the rule of law. I'm afraid doesn't exist, at least in the state of Minnesota in my experience. We are declaring that the Constitution is still the Constitution for the United States of America. The Declaration of Independence is still the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights is still the Bill of Rights. We still stand on these founding documents. Until we do away with these documents dictate, and let me back up. Common law dictates. Constitution protects the people from the tyrannical government. And once you start to read and educate yourself, you see this. It's beautiful in the law. Beautiful in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. So what we're talking about here is real law. We're not talking about opinions or your feelings or where you're at as far as a fear level. We're not talking about any of that. That's not what this is about. It's not about the people that came into my business and the people that didn't come into my business. This is about law and the choice of people and the rights of people.
Thank you. Well said. One of the other things that we wanted to get across today, and I'm thankful that the media is here today, but as part of this press conference, we really want to get something out to you. We would like our media, we would like our journalism to go back to the days when you used to be fact-finding investigators that dig into things, rather than have someone write a story for you or an editor suppress your story or redline your story. We want you to go look at the statutes. We want you to go look at the Constitution. We want you to look at these documents, which is why we have a whole case of them printed here today, and we'll have at the courthouse. And if you're a local citizen and you really want to dig in, maybe you don't have internet access, come by the courthouse at 3 or 3:15 today. We'll give you a free copy of all the documents that we're talking about. We'll give you a copy of the affidavit of public misconduct, as well as the 53 or 54 points within the 8 elements that Lisa's talking about. But to our media, we just ask you, we beg of you, especially if you want us to continue to support you, to do your own digging, do your own investigation, be a journalist again. Stop the narrative of what someone else is telling you to write or report about. Go dig in a little bit. Have fun at your job again. Be creative. Be who you know you can be. Be that independent journalist.
The only thing that I would do, or like to add to that, is something that is really wraps up what we're talking about, where these cases have come out of built and based on fraud, or these charges against me, I should say, the civil and the criminal, were built on fraud in law, and let's look to see what our Constitution and what I'll share a couple of things from you. U.S. Supreme Court ruling, and then also I want to read something from the American jurisprudence. This is ex parte Siebold 100 U.S. 371. An unconstitutional law is void and is as no law. An offense created by it is not crime. A conviction under it is not merely erroneous, but is illegal and void and cannot be used as a legal cause of imprisonment. And then this comes from 16 American jurisprudence. Since an unconstitutional law is void, the general principles follow that it imposes no duties, confers no rights, creates no office, bestows no power or authority on anyone, affords no protection, and justifies no acts performed under it. A void act cannot be legally consistent with a valid one. An unconstitutional law cannot operate to supersede any existing valid law. Indeed, insofar as a statute runs counter to the fundamental law of the land, it's superseded thereby. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce it. So we're going to court today for the pretrial, and I'm going to bring up my issues, every element on the record, and the issues with the violations of statutory and constitutional issues. And we hope to win for liberty, for your liberties and for your freedoms. We hope to have success, I should say, in these, even in the pretrial today. We hope to have success for all of you, for future generations, and for America. So thank you for being here today. God bless.
Amen.
Are there any questions from any of the media?
How many interactions have you had with the judge previously to now?
With this particular judge?
Yeah.
With this particular judge, this is Judge Butel. I have only have I even had a Zoom hearing with this judge? I don't think we've even had an interaction with this judge other than on the record. So everything, I mean, really the cases are, all of our documents that, that he has seen on the record. So there's not even, you asked, that's an interesting question, how much interaction? And actually, well, not interaction, because he hasn't been interacting with us. He's been replying, but he, on the record, the judge has not been addressing any of our issues. None of them have been addressed. So today, we're going to go to court, and we're going to get these issues addressed. Why I had to think there for a minute, how many interactions have we had with this judge? The first judge on the case was Judge Looning. He recused himself. The second judge on the case was Judge Schwab. He recused himself. We have filed to disqualify Judge Butel at the district level, at the appellate level, and at the Minnesota Supreme Court level due to judicial violations of the Judicial Code of Conduct. on their face. None of these violations have been addressed. They're all on the record, and all the way up to the Minnesota Supreme Court, none of the judges would address these issues. So at this point, this judge that I'm going before today should have been disqualified. He should have recused himself because he has repeatedly denied me on many levels due process. He has denied me due process on many levels. So we are hoping to, again, have success today. Any other questions?
No, that was basically the question. I think you answered everything else.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
again.
you so much, and we'd like to invite everybody to be in the courtroom at 3:30 today, or before 3:30, here in Albert Lee. I understand they do have a mask mandate, imagine that, in this courtroom, so if you'd like to attend, apparently you do have to wear a mask. Thank you all for your support. Have a great day. God bless you.